It's March, and this is the Library Roadshow. On the show today, music, football, and feathers. Welcome to the March edition of the Library Roadshow. I'm Mary Stein, and this is a production of your East Baton Rouge Parish Library System. The library is brought to you by the letter C and the number 3 in March. So we'll wish Dr. Seuss many happy birthdays and celebrate the Cat in the Hat all month long. This year's One Book, One Community series features Season of Life, a football star, a boy, a journey to manhood by Jeffrey Marks. Since this heartwarming book covers a year in the life of a high school football coach as he develops and mentors the young men on his team, we're kicking it off with a tailgate on Friday evening, March 14th at the main library at Goodwood. Dress out in your favorite jersey or come as your alma mater's mascot. It'll be fun for the whole family. Jeffrey will join us at the kickoff and then return for a special presentation in April, moderated by Matt Moscona. To go along with this important topic of mentoring, we're also featuring Strong Heart, Cultivating Humility, Respect, and Resiliency in Your Child by Jill Rigby Gardner. We'll lighten things up when former LSU baseball star Ronnie Rance shares his life in sports, plus a host of other programs for various age groups. A lot of musical happenings this month. We'll host a launch party for our new Red Stick Rhythms music platform with a family-friendly outdoor concert featuring some of the local artists whose work is now streaming on this new platform. Celtic Concert Experience goes on tour throughout the library system in time for the wearing of the green. A special workshop on the mountain dulcimer will be followed by a concert with musician Jessica Como. Then we'll host spring concerts from the Civic Orchestra and the Baton Rouge Concert Band. Kids Orchestra drops in on branches all over the library system with a musical salute to Rum Pum Pum, a book about a tiger with a drum. Train Day roars into the main library at Goodwood on March 1st. Put the Pride Cheneyville Community History Festival on your schedule. This year the focus is on country crafts and hobbies. Saturday Science features coral skeletons and healthy reefs when Dr. Christine DeLong digs into climate histories and the Anthropocene from coral skeletons. The Audubon Society focuses on the Louisiana Nightjar Monitoring Project. Open Data BR celebrates Open Data Day on March 29th with presentations and demonstrations showcasing how data-driven technology is used to protect and enhance our community. All this plus hundreds more programs and events throughout your library system. To find out more, check out the online calendar or this month's edition of The Source, available in print and online at ebrpl.com.
Free access to books, audio, and library resources are just a few of the benefits available to you when you get a library card. Need free access to a computer? You get that. Want free access to premium digital resources like Mango Languages and lynda.com? You get that. Need to book a meeting space? You get that. Heck, you can even check out a telescope or use a digital printer with your library card. If you live in East Baton Rouge Parish, pick up your free library card from your local branch library today. Premium access to everything the library system has to offer is waiting for you.
For every kind of service or resource that the library offers in the real world, we also try to offer something to parallel it in the digital library. So since Audubon engravings of birds in the wild are such a staple of the art scene here, and because so many members of our community are leaning into birding, gardening, and natural history, we wanted to deliver a platform to help that passion take wing and soar. It's time to find out more in the digital download.
Birds of the World from Cornell University is a powerful ornithological research platform that brings together deep scholarly content from celebrated works of ornithology. There are millions of bird observations and rich multimedia content, all the best bird resources in the world in one lively and engaging platform. you'll find information on over 11,000 species, with details including appearance, taxonomy, habitat, diet, breeding and behaviour. There are detailed range maps of the regions that you'll find specific birds, as well as their conservation status. What really sets a resource apart is the dynamic multimedia content it contains. Expertly curated media galleries show each bird throughout its life cycle with sketches, photos, videos and sound recordings. Whether you're a dedicated birder or just have a casual interest, you'll find this fascinating and gain a greater appreciation of our avian friends. Every bird has a story. Discover them all with Birds of the World. It's available from anywhere with just your library card. You'll find it in the digital library at ebrpl.com.
Such a great tool. This is an excellent entree into natural history, perfect for backyard birders, homeschoolers, and budding naturalists. Let's shift gears now and go beyond the stacks.
Hi, I'm Brandon Riley. I'm the Adult Community Programming Coordinator. I also work with special projects in our outreach department. My role with the Mid-City Microcon this year was that of an organizer and general facilitator. Well, what happened? We had a lot of workshops. We had a wonderful cosplay show and tell event. We had over 2,500 people attending. We had wonderful, like I said, workshops with Keith, the cartoon man Douglas, Pratima Pinapali, LMNOP, and we had some poetry recitations. It was really a great thing. Lots of vendors.
I am Keith Douglas, and I'm known as Cartoon Man. I'm an illustrator, cartoonist, fine artist, and all that. I do a lot of work. I've drawn over 500,000 people as a caricaturist. I teach art also. I teach at Central High, and I teach talented students and autistic students. So, hey, I just enjoy doing what I do. I'm blessed. Well, I'm at the Mid-City Comic-Con, and I'm enjoying it. I'm going to teach a workshop, and I'm going to have all kinds of different people learning how to draw. And, you know, and some of them already have the ability. I'm just here to help it along the way. You know, just look at me as an artistic lifeguard.
Well, he's a very well-known artist around Baton Rouge, and he does sessions where he teaches people basic techniques in cartooning. And the room was filled. We had over 130 people in there learning how to do caricature-type drawings. They all had a great time. In our mission statement, the library is a community organization that connects people with new experiences. We also uplift voices that are underrepresented, and we give everybody a voice in their community. So Mid-City Microcon does that for pop culture, people, different fandoms, and we help people see themselves represented in the community, and we also help people connect with people with similar interests.
Number one, art is calming, okay? It calms the mind. I know I was going through a few things sometime in life, nothing dramatic like most people have, but it did help me go through it. That's how come I do something called scribbleology. You scribble your way out of pain and anxiety. And that's normally a very calming thing. At the end of the day, you have a product.
It was a resounding success this year, and we're looking forward and have already scheduled Mid-City Microcon 2026.
What a tremendous day we had. I loved all the costumes, and I still can't get over how many folks of all ages took part in the workshops. We'll continue to give them opportunities to create, write, publish, and share. Stay right there. After the break, the library's Executive Director, Katrina Stokes, joins me for a chat right here on the Library Roadshow.
The East Baton Rouge Parish Library believes that preparing children to enter kindergarten is good for us all. That's why we created Press Start, an early learning initiative that provides a free activity booklet every month that explores early literacy skills through play and interaction at home. Get a library card. Sign up for Press Start at ebrpl.com/kids.
You're watching the March edition of the Library Roadshow, everything you need to know about your local library system. Now, you may have seen the library in the news quite a bit over the past few weeks. I've asked our library director, Katrina Stokes, to help answer some of the questions we've been getting about the library's dedicated millage renewal proposal, as well as the alternative proposal put forward by the mayor's office. Okay, Katrina, why is there a millage in the first place?
Well, as I understand it, of the history of our library, back in 1986, the parish as a whole came together and said, we want dedicated funding for the public library. Up until that year, the library's funding came out of the city parish general fund, and unfortunately dwindled to the point where a lot of cuts were made, staff were let go, buildings were closed, existing buildings still in use fell into disrepair. So the parish all came together, said, we want dedicated funding for our library. And in 1986, the first millage tax was passed by the community's approval. Ever since then, every 10 years, the library must renew its millage. For the last 30, the library has been voted in at 11.1. And of course, it is up for renewal this year.
Okay.
We were attempting to ask for a 10.5 millage. We have met all the promises made in the capital improvements plan.
Yes, we have.
Yes, all major capital projects are complete. Our new South Branch is due to open very, very soon. We're very pleased, very proud. But we also listened to our city's leaders who stated we try to lower your millage a bit. And we listened and we did. We can operate at a 10.5 millage and still be able to operate our buildings, pay our staff, purchase our materials, put forth our programs, as well as continue that capital improvement project fund.
Excellent. So the library's proposition was announced, and what happened then?
Well, we were surprised when the mayor's office sat us down and said, we want to undedicate the library's funding and put forth our own proposition that will roll the library's millage, both future and current, back into the city parish general fund.
Okay. And so that's the mayor president's alternative proposal.
Yes.
Now, there can only be one. It's like Highlander. In the end, there can only be one.
Yes.
So there's a lot of conversation. And one of the words I keep hearing is that the library is sitting on a huge surplus. What is this surplus I keep hearing about?
Well, I mean, it's not a surplus. It's a fund balance. They are dedicated funds that are intended for this year's operational costs, which again, that's staff salaries, all of the personnel costs that are included in with those salaries.
And the books.
And the books, of course.
And the databases. Let's not forget Libby.
Yes, all of our digital services, all the materials, not just the books, the games, the DVDs, so on and so forth. All of our programming, like the One Book, One Community that's coming up. All of those costs go towards all the services that we offer back to our public, not to mention keeping and maintaining the buildings we already have.
And then the capital improvements plan.
Yes.
Since we're pay as you go, people just don't understand that, because that's not the way America lives. America seems to live on credit, but there's no credit for the library. There's no bonds, there's no borrowing, there's no indebtedness. Every single building, when they open, is already paid for. In fact, it's already paid for before we even hire the architect. We have to amass the funds that are projected to cover the cost of that building.
Yes.
So, in fact, the Scotlandville branch, phase 2, is about ready to begin. It's paid for. When that building opens in over a year, it will be completely renovated and it will be paid for. So
Yes.
People just don't understand the Dave Ramsey way that the library operates
Correct.
with.
The other thing that I think a lot of people do not understand is part of what they're seeing too on those numbers are the anticipated collection, the taxes are collected around the parish. These are property taxes. They do not realize that is the projected anticipated collection which will be collected this December. But the library will not see that money until the following January or February.
Right. So what happens next?
Well, unfortunately, our proposition did not get the vote we needed, and in fact, it died.
Died on the floor.
Yes, it died on the floor. So we are attempting to work with our city parish leaders to try to find a reasonable solution, a reasonable compromise. The number one most important thing is that the library keep its dedicated funding. We do not want to go back into the city parish general fund.
Because we can't plan. There's no stability with
Correct.
that.
There is no guarantee that we will receive the same amount of funding that we need from year to year. Because, of course, when we plan for each of these 10 years, every time our tax millage comes up for renewal, we are looking at those 10 years. We are attempting to estimate what the costs are going to be.
This is a rapidly developing situation. The library will continue to update our website with information, and the library's Friends Group, Patrons of the Public Library, will also share information over the next few weeks on their website and Facebook page, poplebrpl.org, and facebook.com/poplebrpl. After the break, author Jack LaFontaine. Plus, we introduce you to a musical instrument from Africa called the kora with Sean Gaskell. All that and more coming up next on the Library Roadshow.
Free entertainment is good for us all. That's why we make ebooks and audiobooks available through the Libby app. Get a library card. Get free entertainment at ebrpl.com/digital library.
Welcome back to the March edition of the Library Roadshow. My next guest is a Vietnam-era veteran, ordained minister, registered nurse, and author of 12 novels, 4 short story collections, and a treatise on personal Christianity. Jack LaFontaine's eclectic mix of history and the supernatural has captured the attention of readers the world over. Jack joins me now by phone. Jack, how did you get your start as an author?
Hello, my name is Jack LaFountain. I'm the author of 20 books published by House of Honor Books. I've kind of always told stories. I began writing short stories and poetry in high school, but that interest was kind of put on hold when I spent a few years in the Air Force during Vietnam. Sometime later, I wrote a college essay about the most interesting place I ever ate. Once I convinced the professor that it was a real place, that it wasn't fiction, he said I sounded a lot like an author named Gene Shepherd. I had to look Gene Shepherd up to find out who he was, but he is the author of The Christmas Story. And I figured if a college professor thought I sounded that good, writing was worth a shot. And once I got started doing it, I was hooked.
Tell us about your books.
The book I want to tell you about today is called Bayou Moon. It isn't the first novel that I wrote, but it is my favorite, and it also outsells the rest, which is an endearing quality for an author's book. Bayou Moon is about a sheriff in sleepy little Lockett, Louisiana. He has a series of murders that take place in his town where nothing bad ever usually happens, and Sheriff Landry becomes convinced that he has a serious rougarou problem. And to solve the crimes and to put an end to the killing, he must choose between his legal duty and his duty to do the right thing for everybody in the town. And he kind of struggles with that decision and finally comes to kind of a twisted conclusion.
What inspired you to write that book?
I was inspired to write Bayou Moon by my pet Schnauzer. I was a travel nurse and lived in an RV for a long time. And one morning she just went wild, barking at the door as if there was a monster outside. I opened the door, there was nobody there, but I thought, what if there was a werewolf outside waiting for somebody to open the door? And I kind of just let my imagination run with that idea, and So far, it's run through 6 novels, and there's a 7th, what they call, people who read them call them moon books. That's with my editor right now.
How can our viewers follow your work?
My website is jacklafountainauthor.com, and you'll find all of my books there. There is a bit of me in all of them, but you can also find out about me. My blog, No Jack, is on the website, and it's a weekly bit of my take on writing, on getting published, and promoting your book, and on life in general. And I also contribute to my publisher's blog, houseofhonorbooks.com, and there I talk about writing, again, about what to do with your book after it's published. And I talk about being published too. There's a lot of it, the pros and cons of being traditionally published versus self-published. I've done both. And so you can find out about me there. And I thank you very much for your time and for taking time to listen to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Now, earlier in the show, I mentioned that March was pretty full of musical offerings. We played host to a very special concert series in February featuring the Kora, a 21-string West African harp.
So my name is Sean Gaskell. I'm a musician. I feature performances of the West African Kora, which is a 21-string harp from Gambia, Senegal, Mali, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Burkina Faso. I've studied in Gambia and Senegal, and I travel all over the country playing the instrument. I first heard the Kora live at a music festival in my hometown of Olympia, Washington. It's about an hour and a half south of Seattle. It's about 45 minutes from where I live now in Tacoma. And that night I heard a musician by the name of Kane Mathis perform. He's another student of the Kora like myself, and I absolutely fell in love with the sound, and that night I decided to transition from being a lifelong clarinet player over to the Kora and started taking lessons with Kane, and went to West Africa about 2 years after that. My first trip was 2008, and I've been a total of 4 times now, most recently in 2023. Yeah, it's a performance and educational program. So they'll hear songs that I learned over in West Africa, and then between the songs they'll be hearing about the background and the history of the Kora. So they'll get to learn about how the instrument's built, like the materials that are used. They'll learn about the people who typically play the Kora in West Africa and how that functions in society over there, as well as some of my own personal experiences that I had as a student over there. It's a gourd. It's a gourd bass, if you will, with fishing line strings. Uses cow skin to cover the half of the calabash. Your tuning rings are made of cowhide, so you've got to move those along the neck to tune them. To me, it sounds a lot like a harp, but everyone has their own interpretation, and that's the way it is. I think libraries have been an excellent venue to present the Kora just because, one, it's an absolutely unique sound with an incredible history behind it a lot of the history goes back 800 years to the mid-1200s, and to be able to combine it as a performance and educational program, there's really no better venue that I've found, plainly. I mean, it's just, I think it blends in well with the nature of a library as a center of information, except the main difference is that it's kind of being conducted by a live human, surrounded by books.
Check out more options via the library's circulating CD collection, free concerts, or go online to the digital library to listen and learn about musical instruments and genres on ArtistWorks, the Medici TV platform, Quello Concerts, Freegal, and more. All you need is that library card. Stay right there. You're watching the Library Roadshow.
free entertainment is good for us all. That's why we make ebooks and audiobooks available through the Libby app. Get a library card. Get free entertainment at ebrpl.com/digital library.
You're watching the March edition of the Library Roadshow, a production of your East Baton Rouge Parish Library System. We've mentioned quite a lot of musical offerings already, but how about one more?
Hey, I'm Bill Airy. I lead the St. Albans Ukulele Orchestra. Today, this afternoon, we are here at the East Baton Rouge Parish Main Library on Goodwood, and we are here because it's National Play Ukulele Day. What's wonderful is the library now has a service to check out ukuleles, as I understand it, and this is the kickoff to that program. I believe the orchestra has been together for a little over 10 years. I've been with them for, I think, about 4 years now. Wide range of ages, predominantly more seniors, but we do have some younger members as well. But it's called the St. Albans Ukulele Orchestra because we meet at St. Albans Episcopal Church on the LSU campus. That's where 3 professors some years back formed the ukulele orchestra. So we're going to start with a medley of old-timey songs from the Tin Pan Alley. It's not common that we have kind of play-alongs. Usually we have kind of a formal concert at St. Albans, but hey, whatever the spirit is, we'll welcome that. It's a 4-stringed instrument, fretted, so you can consider it like a baby guitar in some respects. It came from Portugal when Portuguese sugarcane workers migrated from Portugal in the late 19th century to Hawaii and quickly became kind of the national instrument of Hawaii. Of course, it's known as Hawaiian. This ukulele is made out of koa wood, which is native to Hawaii. The ukulele is popular predominantly because it's easier to play than a guitar, much easier, I would say. It's relatively inexpensive. You can get a beginner ukulele for $50, and now you can get them for free for use here at the library, so you can't beat it.
This was a great way to premiere our new circulating ukulele collection, a great introduction to developing a love of music. And now for today's contest. Visit the library's Facebook page at facebook.com/ebrpl. Show me your best school cheer. Better yet, teach it to the whole family. That's facebook.com/ebrpl. And while you're there, enjoy. We're not your grandfather's library anymore. What's coming up on the Library Roadshow in April? More One Book, One Community and the Edible Book Fest. Start planning your culinary creation. Thanks so much for joining us on the Library Roadshow. And remember, your East Baton Rouge Parish Library is open 7 days a week at each and every one of 14 branches, plus 24/7 on the web. Check us out at ebrpl.com.